We had 20 years to prepare. Actually, we should have never prepared to begin with. Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new epic movie rant. And this epic rant is going to be for a 20 years late sequel to a film I reviewed last week. And that film is going to be for none other than that film I reviewed was called Independence Day. And this week, I'm reviewing the sequel to that film. And that sequel is going to be for none other than what I like to call a movie that should never have been made to begin with. And that film is called Independence Day 2, Resurgence. There was a lot of signs this movie was so unneeded. But before I get into that details, what's the plot of this? Well, this film takes place 20 years after the freak alien invasion that nearly destroyed mankind, and now a new threat emerges. This alien mothership is more than twice the size as the last one, and once again the world's armies must band together to save the world. But if that's the mothership, no. The mothership was the ship in the first film. They're all dead. Do they have enough firepower, or will this battle change and will aliens take over? They already killed them! Possibility of a sequel to Independence Day has been discussed as early as 2001, and the film's producer and writer, Dean Devlin, once stated that the world's reaction to the September 11 attacks influenced him to strongly consider making a sequel to the film. Devlin began writing an outline for a script with Emmerich, but in May 2004, during release of The Day After Tomorrow, Emmerich stated he and Devlin attempted to figure out a way how to continue the story, but that it would ultimately not work, and the pair abandoned the idea, and it should have stayed abandoned. But then in 2009, he still had plans for a sequel, and considered the idea of making 2 sequels to form a trilogy. Then in June 2011, Devlin confirmed he and Emmerich found an idea for the sequels and had written a treatment for it. Then in October 2011, discussions for Will Smith returning were halted due to Fox being such dumbasses and being cheapskates, refusing to provide $50 million salary demanded by Smith for the 2 sequels. Emmerich made assurances that the film would be shot back-to-back regardless if Smith was involved or not. And then in July 2012, Devlin reiterated that the Independence Day sequel is still in development, and the script would take place in 2012, 16 years after the original's events. But instead it was changed to 20 years because the movie ended up being released 20 years afterwards. So, after being filmed, of course, this movie would go on to be released in the United States on June 24th, 2016, 20 years after the release of Independence Day, in 2D, 3D, and IMAX 3D. It received so many negative reviews from critics and was a massive box office bomb since it only grossed $389 million worldwide on a $165 million budget. And honestly, all these troubles should have been a warning for Emmerich and Fox to not be making this. Like you could... It was clear that this movie was just not needed and so pointless. But Fox decided to make the movie anyway, and I get Emmerich regretted it, but he still should have not made it regardless. I remember when I saw the poster for this film, didn't see any of the trailers still, but when I saw the poster, I was like, seriously? This movie does not need a sequel, because Independence Day is just one of those films that is a good self-aware concept, but it only works once. It's not Star Wars. It's not some concept that you can break into 3 films to be able to tell one whole story. And then, of course, you can tell another story of how that whole story formed with a backstory trilogy. Even those 2 stories got ruined or fucked by a bad story that spawned 3 bad movies in the future. And the fact this movie was even being made 20 years damn late. So I had finally just watched it. And oh man, was this such an awful sequel in every aspect. Like, this movie was just boring, the CGI was bad, and the characters were horribly written, etc. But first, let's get on to the only good qualities of this movie. First, I want to praise the concept and idea of this movie. Like, the humans using alien technology and preparing for the next alien invasion is an interesting idea. Shame they don't do too much with it. The destruction in the first act of the movie is cool though, and some CGI is impressive. The aliens do look kind of impressive. And I'll give praise to the returning actors Jeff Goldblum, Brent Spiner, and Bill Pullman, who return as their respective characters from the first film. Both Jeff, Brent, and Bill still give some great charismatic performances despite the really bad script they get. Some experienced and veteran actors like Civil War's a new president and William Fichtner as Space Commander are also really good in the film. And Liam Hemsworth as Jake Morrison is one of the few genuinely good new and young actors and is able to give somewhat of a good performance with the bad script he has. But that's about it for good qualities for this. Now we're going to go on to the number of bad qualities this film has. Like the topic of new actors. Like Jesse Usher as Dylan Hiller, stepson of Stephen Hiller, aka Will Smith's character from the first movie, is a terrible, annoying prick in this whole film. He's got no charm or any of the emotional range of Stephen Hiller. He never gives any quips like Stephen, and the moments that are meant to be emotional are not there because Jesse fails to deliver a good performance, or even try to make him likable. It may not necessarily be his fault as the script is atrocious, but his character doesn't live up to his father. There's also this Chinese actress Angela Yunwing as Ryan Liao, who is quite bad as well, and she gives a boring performance. But then again, her character is just written to be a good-looking person in the battle. Another reason why his script is really poor, the other new actors do a somewhat decent job, but none of them even stand out. And I've even mentioned it a dozen times, but the script is just dumb. A fair amount of lines spouted out by the actors just feels like it was written by a 10-year-old, and are not even amusing or funny. A lot of the dialogue feels utterly meaningless, and add nothing to one of the charms about the movie was the quips of Will Smith, which even though it was cheesy, it was like his character was actually likable. He gave a great performance in the original. He actually had moments that were worth a chuckle. In this movie, it feels like they're trying hard to get us to laugh with over-the-top cartoony performances and dumb-written dialogue. But it doesn't work here, and it makes this movie just a pain to get through. Oh, there is one thing that's going to piss you off. You ready? You all remember that, who watched the first film, remember that amazing scene when Russell sacrificed himself to defeat the aliens in the first film? Well, you want to know the dedication he got? It was a brick. A fucking brick. With his name on it. On the rebuilt Washington Momentum. No! No! He saved your guys' asses in the first film, and that's your dedication? No statue or anything? All you give him is a brick with his name on it. What? No. No, 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 no. That is bullshit. Another big problem is the story, or shall we say lack of it. There are times when it does try to cram it in too much, but most of the time it just lacks thrills, excitement, or suspense, and are replaced by dullness and stupidity with scenes that are unnecessary or go nowhere. There's absolutely no emotional investment either. The only emotion most viewers, including me, all pretty much felt was just stone cold boredom. Like seriously, how my day went. This morning, I had some Lucky Charms for breakfast, mowed the lawn, then chilled for a little bit, made some craft dinner with grapes with a healthy side of grapes and a glass of water for my lunch. Then I went up, popped this movie on my TV. Within the first 20 minutes, I'm already on my iPad or phone bored. Already. Yeah, that's how boring this movie is. Outside of the opening, the rest of the action and storytelling is like an underpowered damn squib and instantly forgettable at best. The types of genre are mawkish and forced. Characterization is next to zero, with all the characters either being paper thin or annoying, whiny, annoying pricks. Sometimes even both. The script is weak by its standards and often even worse, with a lot of misplaced and unfunny attempts at humor that come over as juvenile or still gibberish. The music is unmemorable, and instead of rousing, it's like a dirge-like drone that overbears everything. Oh, wait. Know when I mentioned Russell? Another thing I almost forgot to mention. You also remember Brent Spiner's character, who got choked by that alien in the first one, and the alien made him say, "Release me." Well, and you thought he died? No, he didn't die. Gotcha. He just went into a coma for 20 years. It just makes no fucking sense. I mean, that's just bullshit. Shouldn't you be dead? No, no one would go into a coma like that. In real life, they would have been dead. Being choked like that, you would be dead. You would not wake up 20 years later, or anything like that. No. You would already die. Like, he literally looked dead when that alien put his body down. No way you could survive shit like that. With the exception of Jeff, Bill, and Brent's performances, there's just still acting from all the other characters. Like I've said, many of them just look bored as if they had limited or restricted emotional reactions, even going as far as not feeling at times when they're supposed to feel. And the worst example of this is the facial expression of Dylan Hiller. The first time he is shown after his mother's death, it consists of him doing this wide-eyed blank stare, as if he clearly doesn't give a shit. Yeah, another thing about, Dylan's mom, or, Jasmine from the first film, played by Vivica Fox. Her scene is one scene and she's killed off. So, yeah. Now on to this quality. Several characters from the previous film either only return just to be killed off or are never mentioned again, as if they did not seem to even exist anymore or just didn't mean anything to the story. Like, Steve Hiller's not in this movie because he was killed off screen before the events of this film and he only appears in a portrait of the wall in the White House. But it is justified because actor Will Smith declined to return for this film. And honestly, while he ended up starring in another bad movie that summer called Suicide Squad, he still made a much better choice not starring in this. Because, not really just because of money problems. I think he could even tell how pointless, how not needed and unneeded this sequel was. He probably knew how much of a cash grab this movie was going to be, and rightfully backed out. Because, like I said, Independence Day is not a franchise story. No. It worked one time. It was a one and done concept. It came it came and went. End of story. And finally, the ending of the movie. You have a lazy, contrived ending where it turns out the colossal mothership is set up so that if the alien queen dies, it leaves! Literally, everything the queen did after her ship arrived was pointless. She just wanders around the whole... She basically just wanders around the landscape looking for survivors who are in this bus. Like, the final battle even sucks. Like, all it is just some alien, some giant-sized, ass-sized alien on Earth wandering around the whole entire landscape while the heroes are trying to shoot at her. In the first film, the battle consisted of people and ships trying to shoot at the ship. There were actual stakes felt in the final battle because that ship was literally there. It had a beam ready to destroy all of Earth. So you actually felt the stakes there. The aliens were in this ship there and just about to destroy Earth, and they would have succeeded had Russell not shown up, so there were actually some nervous stakes you could feel in the first film. Until Russell showed up and saved the day. And of course, Steve and David planted the virus inside of the ship in space. So yeah, there's no way like this movie could have been made because David and Steve pretty much destroyed their backup ship before they could send in another attack, so technically the whole alien species in this story should already be dead. There was no reason to prepare or anything like that. But now back to this. Not only that, but this ending can even count as sequel baiting, because the way the film ends is that this talking sphere that the humans communicate with convinces the humans to join her resistance so they can launch a counterattack on the Harvester's home planet. And, it never gets resolved, because we all know why. One, this film did not make shit back at the box office. And writer Dean Devlin basically doubts there's ever going to be a sequel to Resurgence. Well, because this movie bombed, and nobody liked it. Like, nobody hyped up, nobody drove all the way to a theater to go see this like they did with the first film. Nobody cared about this movie. Nobody wanted it. It's one of those sequels that pretty much has main character kill-offs, like, the same thing that Alien 3 did. Like, if there is something to learn from being either Alien 3 or the Disney Star Wars sequel trashology, it is, don't ever be Alien 3, and especially don't be the Disney Star Wars sequel trashology. Don't be either of those when you are making a sequel. So yeah, in the end, guys, I think I've ranted enough on Resurgence. I'm done ranting on this. There's not one thing I enjoyed about this lazy, way too late, and boring-ass sequel, and I will definitely not watch this movie again for sure. In fact, why is this movie called Resurgence? This movie shouldn't be called Resurgence. This movie should be called, I know Roland still made films after this, but this movie should be called Roland's Last Chance to Make a Good Movie. Yeah, Roland's Last Chance would have been a better title for this. So yeah, in short, this movie should have been called Independence Day 2, Roland's Last Chance, and it failed. Like, this movie is exactly why I don't want to see another Roland Emmerich film. Like, dude, Roland, don't make any more films, please. Just retire from directing. Don't make another movie. I get you didn't like this movie, but your other films you've been making are not any better, dude. You need to stop making films. Like, face this. Godzilla 1998 sucked. Day After Tomorrow was fine. It was there. 10,000 BC sucked. 2012 sucked. Anonymous sucked. I've heard Moonfall sucked. And I've heard his other film, 2019 Red Notice, was also not very good either. So, yeah, dude, like, you're one good. I'll watch your one movie, Independence Day, but Just stop making any more disaster films, please. Just try to do a different genre, please, because your disaster films are not turning out to be good. Anyway, that's pretty much my review of Independence Day Resurgence, or Rant of Resurgence. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Resurgence, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you have seen the first film, please stop after the first film, because there is no point in watching this cash grab excuse of a movie, or just write down what you think happens after the first ending. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Resurgence, I am going to give Resurgence a 2 out of 10. There we go. That wraps up my review for Resurgence. I can see why I avoided this. I should have just avoided it altogether and just never watched this movie, but now y'all know my thoughts on Resurgence. Anyway, guys, that's it. That'll be it for this epic rant. Thank y'all for watching, and if you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.